I think I've shown politeness and respect, and I would ask that people who converse with me give me that same amount of respect. Um, but starting off, thanks, Yusuf. You are a font of knowledge, lad. Thank you. Um, very much the Orthodox teacher, but the Nicene Creed is something Catholics have fought and died for, maybe even Anglicans and Episcopalians as well. The Nicene Creed is what the Eastern Orthodox spilled buckets of blood in the ground um, in defense of it. And in fact, Rome had nothing to do with the Council of Nicaea nor Constantinople. The Pope didn't attend, nor any of his bishops. I believe a few lay people came, monks or a few priests of no standing, um, that visited the Council of Nicaea, as well as Constantinople. So Rome kind of acquired it because, yeah, we'll accept it. But yeah, the Nicene Creed is something that is extremely, extremely, extremely sacred to the Eastern Orthodox Church. Um, it is something that when a group of unknown monks in Spain in the 7th century decided to change it, that infuriated um, the East. And when Photius saw that in 900, it took 154 years of arguing, saying, look, you cannot, a bunch of rogue priests in Spain trying to convert the German Vandals and Visigoths that had taken over the Spanish Peninsula, the Iberian Peninsula, can't just change whatever words in the creed they want to try to rid them of Arianism. But the Pope said, oh, well, it doesn't matter because it's helping and it's in the Bible anyways. But when it was pointed out and said, look, when it says the Holy Spirit proceeds from the Father, and with the Father and the Son is worshipped and glorified, speaking ontologically, you can't just say the Holy Spirit proceeds from the Father and the Son because you're speaking outside of time. That would introduce Platonism or Neoplatonism, and even a form of Gnosticism, or even lead to Arianism. But they said, no. It jumps from ontological to in time, jumps from outside of space and time to in time at Pentecost. Well, I've run into Roman Catholics that have said, no, that's all speaking, as you should understand it, the way it's phrased, that's all speaking outside of time. So you have the Father who begets the Son, and then through the Father and the Son, the Holy Spirit proceeds, which even the Roman Catholic Church says is blasphemy. So it really screws up theology for the layperson. Now, if you understand it correctly, which is a really screwy way of wording things, of saying, oh yeah, okay, so we're talking about it ontologically here, and then for this word, filioque, meaning and the Son, we are jumping now to Pentecost in time, and then after we say that word, we jump back to before space, time, energy, and matter were created. So That's not showing very much respect for the creed. Um, that's just how we see it. We define ourselves by it. We would argue that point because we define ourselves by the Nicene Creed, and we haven't changed a single word of it. And Saint Peter the Aleut had his fingertips cut off, and then they were cut off at the knuckles, and then they were cut off at the hand, and then he had his veins ripped out and his hand chopped off, and he still wouldn't go against the Nicene Creed because the Spanish were forcing him to say "and the Son," and then he endured the other hand because the Spanish were having the Indians torture him, and they finally beheaded him. And he stood up for saying the undefiled creed, and he was martyred for it by the Spanish at the behest of a priest that was with them. Read up about Saint Peter the Aleut. What else is there? But there is the notion that post-Vatican II sect is a huge manifestation of evil, at the very least, a counter church of the devil. It's an infiltration of Freemasons and anti-Catholics and communists and Jews. I agree. Well, post-Vatican II sect loves Eastern Orthodoxy. Yes, just like pre-Vatican II. Vatican I and many other councils spoke higher of the Eastern Orthodox Church than Vatican II ever has. Everything that the Eastern Orthodox believe, say, and profess, and even do in their liturgy, the Roman Catholic Church used to do 1,000 years ago. So the Roman Catholic Church literally cannot say anything bad about the Eastern Orthodox Church. Cannot. Because if they say, oh, what you're doing there is wrong or bad or evil or heretical, that would mean that the Roman Catholic Church for 1900 years was in heresy or blasphemy. If the Eastern Orthodox were true, post-Vatican II anti-popes would hate it. Well, that's facetious reasoning. No. And they are trying to make friends with everyone. Have you not noticed that? They're trying to make friends with Rastafarians and voodoo people. They're trying to make friends with Shinto. And the Eastern Orthodox, various sees of the Eastern Orthodox Church, especially the Serbs and the Antiochians, said, thanks, but no thanks. We're having nothing to do with you. All it took was footage of them showing Shinto ceremonies and voodoo ceremonies in places like Santa Maria Maggiore and St. Paul outside the walls, and that was about it. The post-Vatican II, the post-Vatican II anti-popes, whose mission is from the devil, is to embrace all major branches of God's truth in history. Major breaches of God's truth in history. The pagan religions, Islamic religion, heretical sects, and Eastern Orthodox schism. Reaches out and wants to unite with Eastern Orthodoxy and Protestantism because the devil knows Eastern Orthodoxy is one of the major movements of rejection of God's truth by which he has ensnared millions of souls. How? As a Roman Catholic, how is it possible for you to say that? Now, I know multiple traditionalist Catholics. Are you out from? Is your Pope the one that lives in Minnesota? Because by you saying that, you're rejecting Roman Catholic doctrine, dogma, and teaching. You do realize that, right? Because you're saying that because something had to have been corrupted between the 4th and 8th century, right? Something had, because we haven't changed. So, what blasphemy are you talking about? Us rejecting Vatican II? Seems like you reject Vatican II. Vatican II is what sealed the Pope as the bishop of all bishops. Under Vatican I, even when he was declared infallible, I think it might have been just right after Vatican I, every pope was still, all popes were still equal. He was just first among equals. It was Vatican II that made him the God on earth, the universal God on earth, as it's said in the modern catechism. Thanks in advance for your attention to this insignificant question. They're not insignificant. Peace to you. My mother told me and my brother when we were young that Catholicism was our birthright. It is, and hold to it. Hold fast to it. Have many children and make sure you baptize those children and bring them to church. The only thing I would ask of you is not to be snarky. I know the Eastern Orthodox Church is the one true Holy Catholic and Apostolic Church. I know that you believe that the Roman Catholic Church is the one true Holy Catholic and Apostolic Church. We both know, we both have deep convictions, and we both believe that we belong to the one true church, and there's only one, right? So there doesn't need to be any snark or sniping like the Protestants do. So that's just what I would ask, to not act like the Protestants do, where there's a lot of sniping back and forth of things like that. But I would want to know what heresy or blasphemies. I mean, you yourself said that the Orthodox don't have any dogma. Kind of seems like that you don't know what you're talking about, which is fine. Which is fine. Ask as many questions as you want. I like it when when you don't know something, right? And you find out the answer, that's a great feeling. That's why I like being wrong, because then I can be corrected and have the correct answer. Um, but this seems like a lot of sniping and snarkiness for somebody who said that the Eastern Orthodox don't have dogma. Um, and you say that what ensnared millions of souls, because the devil knows the Eastern Orthodoxy was one of those major movements of rejection of God's truth. What part of God's truth have we rejected? John Paul II kissing the Quran, a book that commands the slaughter of millions of Orthodox Christians, or him entering and worshiping in a synagogue? Or how about Pope Francis washing the feet of Muslims, yet not mentioning a word about Roman Catholics and other Christians being slaughtered for their faith all over the world? The Pope of Egypt um, actually stands up in a place where the majority of people want to kill him, forgives them, and preaches the gospel. He doesn't hide behind walls like Pope Francis does, and he doesn't kiss copies of the Quran like John Paul II does, or did, or worship in a synagogue. So that's my little bit of snark, but I would ask that we speak to each other amicably. But I will respond to any questions that you have. Please, more questions. Keep them coming.